Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to my channel, guys. This week on Ninja Mommy, I will be talking to you about how to instill Islamic concepts in your toddler's children, or how to introduce Islamic concepts to your children. There are certain things that I do every single day with Samara that introduces her to the concept of Islam. No, I'm not talking about some fiqhy hardcore stuff like, the fiqh of Islam or the fiqh of Salah or how to pray and stuff like that. No, I'm just talking about simple concepts and simple rituals that I do with her that will eventually, inshallah, will instill Islamic behaviors and the love of Islam in her heart. So yeah, let's get started. Samara eats 3 meals, 2 snacks every day. That gives me 5 opportunities to introduce the concept of dua in her life. So ever since she was a baby, before she would sit down to eat, I would do the dua with her of eating, which was Bismillahi wa barakatillah, which translates to in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we did this since she was little, basically since she started eating solids, which was at 6 months. And now this girl knows the drill. She knows that when she sits down, she puts her hands together and she waits for mama to say the dua because she can't really say it right now. After she's done eating, I wipe her hands, wash her hands, wipe her face, the drill. And then she stands up and then she does this again. So she has her hands folded again and we say the dua after eating, which is Alhamdulillahi alladhi at'amana wa sakana wa ja'alana muslimin, which translates to all praise belongs to Allah who gives us food and drink and made us Muslims. And then after we're done making the dua, we go Ami, and she says Amma or Adan, and she knows this. She knows the drill. She knows that after mama's wiped her face, she just stands there and folds her hands and she's ready. She's ready to do this. And I've been doing this since she was born, guys, and she's finally starting to understand the dua. Even though she doesn't know what dua means, she doesn't know what Islam is, she doesn't even know who Allah is yet, but she will. And these are all instilling these concepts of Islam in her heart, and she's getting ready. She's getting ready for that. So later on, when I introduce Islam to her, it's not a foreign concept. She's going to be trained starting now until she's ready. And also later on, I won't have to tell her, Samara, make dua after dinner. Samara, make dua after lunch. Samara, make dua before you eating, because she's already going to be in that mindset. Okay, before eating, I make dua. After eating, I make dua. She already knows. The other thing I do before I give her food is I wash her hands. Later on, when she grows up and she's like, Mom, I have a question. Why do I always have to wash my hands before eating? What's up with that? And then I can tell her, not only is it because of hygienic purposes, but it is also the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, beta. It's because our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would always wash his hands before eating or drinking. Another thing you can do from the beginning is whenever they want to drink water, before you give them water, you tell them to sit down. You give them the water, you tell them to recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and then you give them water to drink. That's another thing you can do from the beginning, and that will prepare them as well for this sunnah. For bedtime, my husband gets her ready for bed right now because he's home. So what he does with her, as he's massaging her and putting her clothes on, he's reciting the last 10 surahs of the Quran to her. You guys can recite whichever surahs of the Quran you know. It doesn't have to be the last 10. It can be anything, as long as she's listening to the Quran and she's listening to the Quran from you. That's all that matters. It will settle her down, it will relax her, it will prepare her. So instead of playing some lullabies or something else, read Quran to them before they're ready to go to sleep. Once she's in her crib, I say the sleeping dua to her. So I say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and the sleeping dua is Allahumma bismika amutu wa ahya. The meaning of that dua is, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with your name do I die and live. See, another thing that I used to do back in the day is when I used to rock Samara to sleep, I would recite La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah to her over and over and over and over again. And what happened was, when she was getting ready for bed and she would ask for her milk, she would do this, and then she'd she would babble and sing the words, and I loved that. She's getting to hear the Shahada, and she's loving it, and she's associating that with sleep, and I love that because that's the last thing she hears before she goes for bed. Other thing that you want to do is you want to let them see you pray, guys. It's really important because if they never see you pray, then they don't know what that concept is. So I always let Samara see me pray. So for example, after my Zohar, in my Zohar Salah, after my 4 sunnahs, she'll come over and she'll just wait for me to do salam, and I'll do salam, and then she'll just be there in my face, be like, hi, here I am. And then I would just hug her and kiss her, and then I'm like, okay, Samara, it's Salah time. So this is my symbol for Salah. And yeah, the beauty of baby sign languages, you can incorporate your own signs, right? I mentioned that in my baby sign language video, guys. So my Salah sign is this, my Allah sign is this, and my Quran sign is this, which is the same as the book. The reason it's so important for them to see you pray is because what you do speaks volume versus what you say. So you can say it all you want, but until you show them, it's not going to make a difference. So later on, when they're older, and you want them to pray and you're like, pray beta, pray beta, pray beta, they're gonna be like, excuse me, I never saw you pray, so like why on earth would I pray? And it has happened. Sadly, it's happened, guys, and it's still happening. So unless they see you pray, unless they see their dad go to the masjid, they're not gonna know what this whole concept is. So you have to show that to them. So you have to show it to them. Yeah, not only show it to them, but involve them. It's not first upon Samara to pray right now, but she still has her little John Ma's prayer mat. She still has her burqa, or like the veil, or the head wrap. And I give it to her when I start my Salah. Actually, I don't give it to her. You know what she does? So my all of the stuff is in the ottoman. So she just goes over there and I grab my stuff and she's like, Mama, where's my stuff? Like, can I have my stuff too? It's Salah time. So yeah, I give her stuff and she gets ready with me. And then when I'm praying, she sometimes like stands next to me and starts praying as well. And she does like the Allahu Akbar. She does like with her mouth. She moves like something. She like says some words in her mouth and pretending to like pray. And then she does the ruku. She does the sajda. She does all the motions with me. And the reason she's able to do all that, because she's seen me and her dad pray. Another thing you want to do, guys, is you want to read to them. I have read to Samara since the day she was born. I would read different types of books to her. Some of the books that I would read to her are about Islam. And you can introduce the concept of Islam through books as well. So I'll share with you some of the books that I read to her. There is this one, My First ABC Words of Islam. I love this book because instead of teaching her A is for apple, B is for, what is B is for? Well, see, I completely forgot. I just know B is for Bismillah now. I think that. With this book, instead of just reading to her, I sometimes sing it to her. So I'm like, excuse my singing, guys. A is for Allah, B is for Bismillah, C is for clean, and D is for dua, E is for Eid, and F is for Fajr. So I just kind of like make it fun for her instead of just, boringly A is for Allah, B is for Bismillah. I just kind of like make it fun for her. Yeah. Another one of her favorite books right now is I Can Wear Hijab Anywhere. The other thing that I want to tell you guys is if you do speak more than one languages, you don't have to stick to English in this book. So sometimes when I'm reading this book to her, I don't just read the English part. I just, read it to her in Urdu. So I would say, मैं hijab कहीं भी पहन सकती हूँ. Allah has given me a hijab to wear. Instead of that, I'll just say, Allah ने मुझे दिया है hijab पहनने के लिए. So just like that. You can do that with any book. You can introduce the other language in books as well. So right now, they're not like reading the words. They're just looking at the pictures. So when you're talking to them and you're reading to them in another language, that also helps with their language acquisition. Another book that I read to her is Say Subhanallah, Learning the Four Seasons. And I will provide the links to buy these books from wherever I bought them. And then there is my first book about the Quran. This book is really great. It says teachings for toddlers and young children. So you can grab this right here. I want to mention something. So you see how the little kid is like doing that posture? Samara does that. Samara started to do that because she saw it in the book that someone is doing that. Again, you're introducing Islam to them. You're introducing these concepts to them. You can do it through many ways. Books is one of the great examples. Lastly, my first Arabic alphabet. It's very bold, very big letters. There's a dua in the beginning. I always read this dua to her as well. The dua is Rabbi zidni ilma, and the meaning is my Lord increase me in my knowledge. So alif ba ta sa jim ha kha. So you guys can again sing it to them. Lastly, I just want to point out that I know in Islam it's really important for the kids to eat with their right hand. Not only kids, but us as well, because it's the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But here's a point that you need to take note of. In the beginning, kids are going to be eating with their right hand and with their left hand. Do not, I repeat, do not force them to eat with their right hand, because if you do, you're going to seriously mess up their eye and hand coordination. Let them be. They're not going to show dominance over one hand until they're like 18 months to 2 years, and some even 6 years, guys. Let them explore with both hands. Once you know, you can ask your doctor to verify it, that which hand is dominant. Usually if you just observe them, you can tell. Once you know that they have picked a dominant hand, then you can slowly start teaching them how to eat with the right hand. But in the beginning, don't worry about it. It's okay. Let them be, guys. Let them be. Hey guys, that's all I have for today. I hope this video benefited you guys and you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment to let me know what you think. And yeah, until next week, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.